You're watching MetroCast Channel 10. I'm ALisa. Thanks for joining me on GAB with ALisa Profiles. We have a really interesting show, a hometown boy from St. Mary's County, head coach of the Hawks at College of Southern Maryland, and guess what? He's Coach of the Year. Alan, you have a great story to tell.
Yes, proud just to be able to tell it.
Absolutely. Well, tell you what, go grab a drink, sit down on the couch, kick back and enjoy because we have a great story for you. It's coming up in a moment. You're watching MetroCast Channel 10. You're watching MetroCast Channel 10. I'm ALisa, and this is GAB with ALisa Profiles. And my guest today is Alan Hoyt. He's the head coach at the College of Southern Maryland Hawks basketball team. And it's really good to have you on the program.
I appreciate you having me.
Absolutely. You have had a wonderful career, but a spectacular year. You were chosen this year by your peers, by other coaches, as the Coach of the Year. Let's talk a little bit about that. Tell me about that award.
Well, first, I just feel real honored. That comes from my peers, you know, just to have that respect among them, for them to choose me. I know I take my time when I vote for whoever I vote for, and just to be recognized is just a real great honor.
It sure is, and College of Southern Maryland is just such a bright and shining point in Southern Maryland. Well, I mentioned in the beginning that you are a St. Mary's County boy.
Yes, born and raised, Great Mills, Maryland.
Oh, that's great. And you went to Great Mills High School?
Yes, graduated in 2000.
Okay. Now let's talk a little bit about what you did when you were in high school. You said you played basketball. Let's talk about your basketball.
I just played basketball. I probably could have played a few more sports, but just chose to specialize. I actually told my dad in about 7th grade, I was playing baseball, we were practicing, that, you know, I just didn't want to do it anymore. I thought basketball was just for me. And to probably tell the truth, I was probably a better baseball player than basketball player. But I chose to specialize, and it was a great run. Coach Heibel was fantastic. He's now the principal at Great Mills. He really took me under his wing, you know, gave me an opportunity. I mean, I worked hard. We actually resurrected that program, won a SMAC championship in 2000. Very honored to go in and see that when I go in the gym. But it was just a real good time, and I really, you know, learned a lot about myself, became a better basketball player, better kid, and I was able to take it on to college.
You know, let's talk about that, because that's the whole point of my show, is I like to meet people that have really interesting stories. They're bigger than life stories, and they're from our community, and talk a little bit about nobody walks in the door and all of a sudden they're a superstar.
No.
There is so much behind them that brought them to the point that they are at now. So let's talk about you. It's funny you used these words, I was a better kid and a better person.
Well, I mean, I really feel like that's what athletics does for you. You know, it puts you in a setting where, you know, you're learning on your own. When you're in a game, you know, you got to find ways to do better and, you know, to compete and, you know, to succeed. And, you know, you take that. It is a life lesson. I mean, it's funny that you said just walk in and get better. I walked into Coach Heibel's class, and the first thing he said is, "Do you play basketball?" I was like, "Well, I do," but I mean, I wasn't very good. You know, I was 6'3", and I mean, that looks real good to him. But it's just about hard work. That's why I try to tell my guys and my students now is nothing's just given to you. I mean, I had a great career playing basketball, but I was never the fastest or the best, or it's just because I worked hard. Like, I wanted to be as good as I could be. And he gave me opportunities. And that's, again, what I tell my guys and my students now is all I can do is present you an opportunity, and it's going to be what you take with it. You know, you get a time out there on the floor, you know, you're going to play hard or you're not. And I felt like I took advantage of those opportunities, and I got to, again, take that, win a SMAC championship. The previous one was from 1972. So from 28 years later to get a SMAC championship at Great Mills was a real big honor for me. And just being able to see it every time I go in there, just, you know, makes me think back about how hard I worked and the teammates I had, and just relive those memories.
Well, let me ask you, clearly the best thing was winning the championship. What do you think was one of the life lessons that you learned? If you can look back on that season and really think about things, what did you really take away from that season?
I guess just being able to handle success, because success was something that really wasn't there. I mean, to tell the truth, before this season at CSM, that was my only winning season as an athlete in my whole career. And like, that stands out to me. I mean, I don't tell everybody that because it doesn't sound very good, but it felt so good to win and to keep your composure, because we won. We were 20-5.
Wow,
you know, we won,
a great season.
You know, most of the games, and, you know, you can get a big head, you can be satisfied with yourselves. Some things that we did this year when we were winning a little bit. But I kept my focus. You know, I wasn't satisfied with what happened, even though, you know, when we got to 10 or 11 wins, that's the most it's been in a few years. And just to keep plugging away. And to understand that that's what it's always going to be about. I'm never going to be satisfied with where I'm at. I can do better. I was coach of the year this year, and as soon as I told my wife, I was like, I want it next year. 10 minutes later, I was done with that and ready to move on. And that's what I'm trying to give to my guys. Never be satisfied. You're here for a reason, whether you weren't good enough yet, or your grades, or whatever. Well, don't be satisfied with this. Make all conference. That's great. Let's win a lot of games. Well, you still want to move on to another 4-year school. Don't be satisfied with that. I have, for my first season, I've got us playing professionally now in Ohio.
Wow.
It's minor league. I mean, he gets paid barely anything, but he's a professional basketball player.
You betcha. You betcha.
And just the never being satisfied.
Okay.
Just that hunger. To get better.
You've already said a couple things that really resonated with me. Is you were never the fastest and you were never the best, because people focus on the Michael Jordans and the Kobe Bryants, and they are the best and they're super successful. But through sheer perseverance and this mental state that you have, you plowed through, and here you are. Well, I tell you what, let's take a quick break, and when we come back, let's talk about your team at CSM this year. Let's talk about some challenges you faced and some of the big things that you've done, and we'll do that.
All right, sounds good.
Sounds good. All right, we'll be back in a moment. You're watching GAB with ALisa Profiles on MetroCast Channel 10. You're watching GAB with ALisa Profiles on MetroCast Channel 10, and we're here with the Coach of the Year, Alan Hoyt, the CSM Hawks head basketball coach. And gosh, that just sounds good for Southern Maryland.
It does. It sounds real good. I like it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know we've talked off camera. You had a whole team behind you helping you in that. Let's talk about that. You, of course, went to Great Mills High School. You're from St. Mary's County, and you graduated in 2000. And here, just 12 short years later, you're at the top of a program. How'd you get into coaching?
Well, it started, I went to McDaniel College, played 4 years, had successful personal. I was successful. I scored over 1,000 points.
Zoinks.
We weren't very good, though, so, that kind of takes away. But after that, I came home. I didn't get a teaching job right out of school like I thought I would. That's why I became a teacher. Thought I'd get a job right out of college. Had to sub at Great Mills, which was good to get back, to see how things have changed. And it changed in 5 years. Looking for a job, was in the gym, and I saw Robert Lloyd. He was actually an in-school suspension teacher for my middle school. He actually hosted basketball. I was never in in-school suspension. But right away, he's like, sure. He worked at King's Christian Academy, got that job, and said I could help him right away. So I helped him for 1 year. Then I was working camps throughout the summer, the Coach Wooten camps in Frostburg. And Coach Harney, Chris Harney, works those. He's one of the lead guys right under Morgan and Joe Wooten. And I heard he got the job at St. Mary's College. And so one of my old assistants from McDaniel, Stu Wilson, was like, just give him a call. You never know if he needs an assistant or not. So I gave him a call, and he said on the phone, sure, right away. No interview, no nothing. And Chris Harney, he was actually the JV coach at Great Mills when I played, so that's how I knew him. And it just felt good just to know that, I must have done things growing up in middle school and high school to let, people know that what I'm about and what I can do to help their program.
You know what, before you go too far, I want to ask you about that, because what I'd like to do with this interview is, yes, I want to celebrate CSM because they're a great asset to Southern Maryland, and I really want to celebrate you because clearly you've worked hard. But the point of this program I really want to share with some viewers is, if we have some young athletes out there and they are playing games, but when you're young, say middle school age, you run into a lot of frustrations. You've got hormones, you've got officials, you've got coaches, you've got schoolwork, you've got mom, you've got friends, and you've got all of these things going on. What advice would you give to a young athlete? Because you talked about, I think, what I did in middle school and high school got me to this point. So what would you say to them?
You just got to understand what it is that you want out of life, and understand that it's not going to happen tomorrow. And you got to understand that the people that you meet today, even though they might be your worst teacher, your meanest teacher, or meanest coach, or regardless of who they are, you never know who they'll be later on in life. And saying that now, it looks great looking back, but in middle school, I didn't know who Robert Lloyd was, what he'd be, 10 or 5 or 6 years from then. Same thing with Chris Harney, who, is a crazy guy, intense, and I love him to death. I didn't know where he'd be at, and you just never know. And to tell kids that all you can do is always show your best foot forward, always. Depending on whatever stresses are happening, all you can do is just present your best, and you got to deal with it. You got to handle your issues. If you need help, always ask for it. But again, you never know. So it's always important to,
just carry yourself
with respect and dignity.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you're going to be okay. You never know who's going to be there.
All right.
I teach high school. I tell my kids that now. They're acting up a little bit out there. And I'm like, they're playing basketball. I was like, well, I'm a basketball coach. And, most of them know that. But look what you're showing me right now. Is that something you want a basketball coach to see? You want to play basketball? I mean, you don't have to play for me, but I know other coaches, to point them in the right direction. I can help them get somewhere, even though they're not on my team now. And just remind them that you never know who's looking. I was in Potomac High School today. The Chesapeake coach was there. I'm not sure why, but I spoke with him for a minute. So you really never know who's around. And it's always good to have your best foot forward.
That's wonderful. That's really, really good advice for the kids that are watching. All right, let's go forward with your career. How did things continue to go for you?
Well, I worked that 1 year with Chris Harney at St. Mary's, learned a lot, the Division III basketball. Then I actually got a job up here in Prince George's County, so I had to take a year off, which killed me. That's actually my first year without basketball. I mean, I got to play more, but it's not the same when it's not official and you're on the sidelines and, but it was good because an opportunity opened here at CSM. Applied, got an interview. Michelle called me. She said, everything was great on the interview. We loved everything you said, but we found someone, with a lot more experience, Dale Becraft, who's a great guy, great coach. He got the job. She asked, though, if I'd be the lead assistant. Talked to Dale, thought it over, and decided that would be something I'd like to try. Then a few months later, he gives me a call and says, due to some health issues, that he's not going to be able to do it.
Okay, again, the point of this show is about character and sportsmanship. You wanted the head coach's job, but it wasn't available.
No.
And so you didn't kick rocks, spit nails, burn your bridges. You said, yes, I'll go be an assistant.
Yeah. I mean, it was tough.
Sure.
But being a young guy, I mean, I understand. I had 1 year of college basketball experience.
Right.
And, I decided that, being a lead assistant would look good on the resume. It'd be a great start. And I took advantage. I took the opportunity. And little did I know that 2 months later, I would be the head coach at CSM. Right. And it was funny, when I got that call, I was working at Ruby Tuesdays in the mall, and I have my worst night ever. Usually I was a great server, no mistakes. I had $100 in promos that night. I was horrible. Had to take a break, stepped outside, checked my messages, and it's Dale on the phone saying, we want you to be the lead guy. So for as bad as that night was, I mean, it turned out to
change your life.
Exactly. At 24 years old, the head coach at CSM.
Oh, you have such a good story. Well, I tell you, we need to take a really quick break, and we haven't had a chance to talk about your team and what all you've done in the last 5 years. Right?
Yes.
You've been at CSM now
it's been 5 years.
Wow,
Flown
that's
by.
gone fast. All right, well, we'll take a quick break, and we'll come back. We'll talk about your career here and finish up this great story. So great to talk to you. You have a really, really intriguing story.
Thank you.
So we'll do that in a moment. We're going to take a quick break. You're watching GAB with ALisa Profiles on MetroCast Channel 10. You're watching GAB with ALisa Profiles on MetroCast Channel 10. We're talking to CSM head basketball coach Alan Hoyt, who's been voted, awarded, and is Coach of the Year. And it was a coach's award, so your peers voted that and voted you Coach of the Year. That's great.
Yes, it was wonderful.
Now, when we took a break, you had just mentioned how you had been the lead assistant and then you became the head coach, and that was 5 years ago. Let's talk about your teams and what's transpired in those 5 years.
Well, when I got the job, it was April. So, I mean, recruiting was late. But, I got started right away. Got some good kids in here. We had a very rough season. Just being young, we weren't very deep. But it was good. Actually, 3 of those kids went on to play basketball, so that was good. Second year, same thing. Added some more kids. Got a little bit better in the win column, which is good. And graduated my first 2-year players, shipped them out.
Okay, good.
And then my 3rd year, we recruited really well to start off with. Had as good as a 5 as anybody in the league, but academically, we were not as good as many teams, so we lost a couple guys. And, we were close to 500. We were actually 500, then we lost both playoff games. So we ended up, it looks like a losing season, but it was really a winning season before the playoffs. And then last year, we took a big step back. We actually signed 3 guys to letter of intents, and nobody came. 3 starters. 1 kid actually went to Slippery Rock on a scholarship and started in January, so I can't fault him on that because that's what I would have done for him anyways. But that really hurt us. But we had Ryan Vanderwest and Brian Dixon really held the ship down for us, and they brought that over to this year. We again fit in some more pieces, and we were able to, to win 16 games. And it feels good. to finally
Sure.
carry it all the way over and get towards the top of the conference. It really felt good watching other teams write articles and, when they play a close game with us or they beat us, call us an upper echelon team.
Good.
And that's, what I wanted to take this program and put them at. And it just feels good to get there. And now we're just trying to keep it there.
Now, what is your vision for your team in the coming years? And I know it's just a couple of words. It is
To be playing right now. Baltimore City Community College is in Danville, Illinois, playing in the national tournament. They won yesterday, but congratulations to them. But I want that to be us.
Sure.
We lost to them in double overtime on January 4th here at CSM in probably our best game of the year.
Great.
We've really been strapped to find guys with size.
Okay.
And we're always a smaller team, a faster team, which I like a little bit. But Baltimore City has the 6'8" and the 6'7".
Shoot.
And, you look at us on paper and it's like, not even a chance.
David and Goliath.
But we battle. We battle with everybody in this league. We should beat a lot of teams that we haven't really beat before. We beat Allegheny at Allegheny for the first time. And I don't know how long in CSM history. We also beat Garrett on the road. We beat PG at home this year by 14. And they went to the district finals for Division III. It's a really solid season. We really made our statement that we are at the top of this conference.
Right, and we're back.
We're going to stay. We're going to stay there, and that's the goal. And always the second goal, and actually the most important goal really, is to send my guys to a four-year institution. Make sure those opportunities are there. Ryan Vander West, he hasn't committed entirely, but is most likely going to Salisbury University.
Great.
And then Brian Dixon is going, he hasn't decided yet, but he has many visits lined up, D2 schools, so hopefully we can find him a scholarship. And that's always the most important thing, getting them there.
Okay, now as far as for yourself, your career is still really in the young stages. What do you see for yourself in the coming years?
I mean, for now, I love it at CSM, and I'm in really no hurry to go anywhere. Thinking about it, at first when I got the job, I was like, oh, it's just a stepping stone. I'll just do this for a couple of years and move on and get out of St. Mary's County. But but being here, I love it. Todd Fong recruited me 12 years ago. Talked to my parents after every game. I was like, CSM, yeah, right. Like, I'm too good for CSM. But now, knowing what I know now, I could have got a scholarship. I could have played 2 years here, got a scholarship, saved some money that I'm paying back right now for student loans. It's a wonderful opportunity, and I love it. And the ability to recruit kids from high school and send them somewhere else is you don't get that in high school.
You're giving them opportunities that might not otherwise have.
Exactly. And I just like both ends of it. But, if opportunities to come at a higher level, I'll definitely look into those, if the area is right and it fits for my family. I do have a wife and 3 kids, so it's not just me just bumping around. But we'll just see what happens in the future. But I love it. And, I'd love to be the all-time wins leader at CSM. I'd love to put some more in that banner that's looking pretty empty up there. But those are definitely the goals for now.
Well, let me ask you a question. Since you're the head basketball coach at CSM and it's a men's team, if there's a young man out there and he's watching, he's a sophomore or junior, and he's still not quite sure what the future holds for him, what are your words of wisdom to him? Get busy and do this in the next 3 years.
All right, first thing, get your schoolwork together. I mean, that's where it starts. And that's where it's just going to start here. It's where it's going to start wherever you go. Coaches don't have time to deal with guys who don't want to go to class. There's always a kid out there that can play basketball just as good as you somewhere in this country. And, if your grades if you're not willing to work hard at your grades, then we probably need to go find someone else that, we need kids that work hard. And if you work hard in the classroom, you're going to work hard in the court, you'll work hard in the weight room, you'll work hard in life. And, that's the one thing I try to tell them. It's not a switch you can just flip on. Oh, I'm on the court now, I'm just going to turn it on. Midterms came out, I didn't do too good. That's all right, I'll just start doing better now. It's a habit, and if you can build that in your sophomore and junior year, well, then you're going to be on the right path.
You just kind of tell it like it is, don't you?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's important. And again, by the time you get to me, your chances are running out.
Okay.
And, sometimes it's tough to be like that, but if this is something you want to do, if education is important to you and basketball is important to you, well, then it's now. Once you start a full-time semester, your clock ticks.
Right.
And, so I mean,
it goes fast.
Basketball runs out. Actually, one of my assistant coaches, Byron Morgan, my first college graduate, Went to Hood, graduated, came back. He's an assistant coach now. He actually couldn't play his last year at Hood because he started his years early. Not that he did bad. He was wonderful. Right. But just he didn't start playing basketball as soon as he started his high school, started college. So he's a little bit behind. And you know, if you're failing classes, you're not gaining credits, you're not going to be eligible, and you're just going to be behind. But yes, academics first. And then obviously pick your sport that you want to specialize in and have at it. Have at it, exactly. Yeah. No matter what, you know, whatever it is that you want in life. And that's what I tell my guys now. Maybe after this, after CSM, it's not basketball. Ryan Vanderwest was a 3-sport athlete at Leonardtown High School. He could have ran track, he could have played soccer. He could have done any of these 3 things at a college before coming to CSM. And that's what I told him. I don't care what he does. Just do the best you can. And that's for everybody.
That crosses the borders of male, female, high school, college. It's life. It's life.
It's life. You know, well, never leave anything on the table.
There you go. Well, it's clear why you were nominated by your peers. I have so enjoyed talking to you. You're very well-rounded in your thoughts and your approach and the advice that you give to students. And I always wonder, what do coaches think? You know, what's the first thing, because you know, you can't play unless you have academics. So what's really going through a coach's mind? So I love how you went right to that point, because it is important, because that is life. Well, it's a pleasure talking to you, and congratulations on a well-deserved award.
You.
And we're going to enjoy following you at CSM for the next few years.
I appreciate that.
All right, thanks. Alan Hoyt, graduate of Great Mills High School and head coach at the College of Southern Maryland Hawks basketball team and Coach of the Year. What a great award. Thanks for joining us on MetroCast Channel 10 with GAB with ALisa Profiles. We'll see you next time.